I am Erin Merryn, the founder of Erin's Law. Erin's Law requires teaching students once a year, kindergarten to 12th grade, personal body safety education in school. It empowers students, like you, to speak up and tell if you're being abused or know someone that is being abused, helping you identify the differences between safe and unsafe secrets, safe and unsafe touches, that abuse is never your fault and we must always report it. When I was 6 years old, I went to my first sleepover with my best friend. It was there I woke up in the middle of the night being sexually abused by her uncle that lived with her. He told me to keep quiet, so I didn't scream. Nobody had ever taught me you don't keep these secrets. So I didn't tell my mom the next morning when she picked me up. I was scared and began to have nightmares. He threatened me to come back or he would come find me. The abuse at her house continued and the threats got worse. I feared he was hiding under my bed at night. He told me that my parents would not love me anymore if I told anyone our secret. He then began telling me my house would be burned down, with my family inside if I didn't come back to see him, or if I told anyone. Those threats kept me silent and returning to my abuser, fearing my family and I would die. He wasn't just threatening me. He told his niece if she told anyone that he would go to jail and they would be homeless because her mom could not afford to pay the bills without him. Abusers use many different ways to silence children. Some ways are threats, gifts, and money. I was showing all the signs of an abused child with anger, tantrums in school, and at home. I even put my hand through a window when I found myself reliving my abuse through a flashback. If someone had taught me how to speak up and tell, I could have avoided years of abuse. However, the sexual abuse continued. Then, when I turned 9, my family moved, which unfortunately got me that much closer to the next abuser in my life. At age 11, I woke up to my older teenage cousin sexually abusing me. The abuse continued dozens of times until the age of 13. This cousin repeatedly told me, "This is our secret. No one will believe you. I will destroy our family if anyone found out." Instead of reporting my abuse, I turned to my childhood diary, writing about the incidents of abuse that I eventually hid under my mattress. These powerful threats from both my abusers kept me silent. My abuse ended at 13 when my 11-year-old sister came to me with the same secret. My cousin was abusing her too. We immediately told our parents. It was not uncommon at all for abusers to have multiple victims. My cousin was given probation, community service, and therapy. My abuser from my earlier childhood was never held accountable. There was no physical evidence, and he would not cooperate with police. The abuse continued to haunt me. I spent years depressed and filled with anxiety. I trusted very few people. I feared someone else trying to hurt me. Shortly after disclosing my abuse, my parents put me in a therapy group for other survivors around my age. That group helped me realize I wasn't alone. I had nothing to be ashamed of, and my abuse was not my fault. I started to talk about the things I never told anyone. Unfortunately, the effects of my trauma continued to haunt me throughout my youth. As a teenager, I went down a very unhealthy path of self-harm and attempted suicide. Then, my senior year of high school, I decided to turn pain into a purpose. I took my childhood diary and turned it into a book called Stolen Innocence. It was published my senior year of high school. Since then, I have been traveling the country as a public speaker, sharing how I turned tragedy into triumph. One day, I read a passage out of my diary that described the police officer teaching us stranger danger, that we should never answer the door when my parents are not home, or talk to strangers. Reality is 90% of the time, it isn't strangers hurting kids. It's someone they know. As a child, I learned tornado drills, bus drills, fire drills every year. A police officer taught us, say no to drugs. In 2007, I realized It was my mission to give kids the voice I never had by creating Erin's Law. I made it my goal to get Erin's Law passed in every state in America and every other country. I have been on a crusade my entire adult life to put a face and voice on child abuse by educating you and your classmates on how to use your voice to speak out against abuse. I will not allow anyone or anything stop me from accomplishing that. The first time I ever felt uneasy around my friend's uncle was one afternoon while I was standing in the kitchen. He appeared and came towards me. Instead of asking me if I could move, he pushed himself up against me as he opened the cabinet door. I remember that icky feeling that came over me, how creepy that was. This is described as grooming. This neighbor was testing to see if I would react to what he had just done. Often, if an abuser is abusing one child and getting away with it, they will abuse other children. Another child who played in this house would later describe her experiences with this man. He would come up behind her and rub her shoulders or take his fingers through her hair. She described to me how it creeped her out, and she would tell him to stop or she would immediately get away from him. Abusers will test boundaries. He wasn't done trying to harm this girl, and one afternoon, he entered the bedroom she was playing in. He came up to her and pushed his body up against her. She pushed him off quickly and got out of the room. One day, at my best friend's house, her uncle tried to convince me he had something to show me in the bedroom. This gut feeling inside me told me to run. Since he had already abused me once, I knew something bad could happen. So I quickly went back outside. If you ever get that uneasy feeling, don't ever ignore it. Many survivors of abuse feel like it's their fault. It is never your fault if you've been abused, even if you felt like you went along with it. Child abusers are manipulators and can convince you into thinking this is your fault, that you will be in trouble if you report what you are doing. You will never be in trouble. You must report, and by reporting your abuse, you will save other children from being harmed. You are not alone if this has happened to you. There are many resources to help survivors from abuse. An abuser might tell you that you or someone you love will be harmed if you report it. Abusers might try and convince you that you will be in trouble, placing the blame on you if anyone finds out. This is called manipulation, a tactic abusers use to put fear in children and silence them from reporting. If you've been abused and never told anyone, you must report it immediately. You have likely been threatened to keep it a secret. This is a secret you should never keep. Find a safe, trusted adult to report this to. There are many people you can report abuse to. A family member, friend of the family, or your teacher. There are many safe adults that work in your school you can report to as well. If you don't feel comfortable talking to your teacher or can't find private time without your classmates around, you can go to the school social worker or principal. The most important thing you must understand is you keep reporting until the abuse stops. You will be believed. This is not your fault. When I was 12, I told my best friend what my cousin was doing to me. I made her pinky promise me never to tell anyone what he was doing, that it would destroy our family and no one would believe me. She locked her pinky with me and promised. She kept my secret. What if you find yourself in the same situation? A friend discloses to you that they've been abused, but not to tell anyone. You never keep these secrets. Share with them that this is not a safe secret you can keep and you need to report it to an adult. You might think this will anger your friend. They'll never speak to you again. They will one day be grateful for your friendship and helping them to disclose their abuse and report. Even if they're not being abused anymore, you must report. The abuser needs to be held accountable, and it's very likely is still hurting other children and needs to be stopped. Abuse is a crime and never a child's fault. Make sure your friend knows that there are safe places to talk to someone about what happened. As you support your friend, you should never make these statements. You're overreacting. You're lucky it wasn't worse. Why were you going over there? Why didn't you run away? You should have screamed. It's not that big a deal. You will be in trouble for not telling. These are all statements you should never say to someone who has been abused. This is called victim blaming and minimizing what happened. By reporting abuse, you are helping to stop an abuser from hurting any more children. In the end, making you the hero for saving the lives of others from abuse. I hope by learning my law, you have learned not only what to do when you or someone you know is being abused, but that you can heal from abuse. That you're not alone as a survivor. You have nothing to be ashamed of if you have experienced abuse, and you can go on to live a beautiful life like I have.